Welcome to the Strategy Mob Podcast. Tune in for everything you need to know to stay in the know regarding the automotive industry. Here's your host, Jason Harris.
Hey, what's going on, Podcast Nation? It is Jason Harris here, and thank you for joining me on another episode of Strategy Mob. Today, I'm excited because I get to jam with a neighbor. I know, we actually just found out that he lives like right down the street from me. So this is going to be a lot of fun, but we got some cool topics to talk about. We're going to focus things like leadership and what it means to own a business within a business and how we redefine the F&I experience and much, much more. So thank you for joining me today, Ammun Khurshid, and I am so excited to get this conversation started. But Ammun, before we get deep into our conversation, for everybody out there that's watching and listening right now and don't know who you are and kind of how you got started in the business, I thought it'd be cool to kick off today's podcast with a little origin story. So Ammun, how did you get started in this crazy little world we call the automotive industry?
I started in the automotive industry when I was 18 years old, fresh out of high school. I did it, for the summer, just to get some experience. I was actually starting university the year after, so I had a year. So I said, okay, let me experiment and try something new. So I joined a Mazda dealership in Mississauga. And, those 9-10 months leading up to university, I loved it. I was loving, being a sales consultant. It was, I would get up every day excited. Then it was finally time to go off to university. So I did a year at Brock University in a totally different field. I studied law there. And, after a year, I realized that I really didn't know what I was doing. And I realized that, I truly enjoyed working in the automotive industry. So then the next following year, I came back to it. And the rest is history.
That's awesome. Like I said, I typically find people get into this industry one of three ways, right? Either they kind of stumble their way into it, or they're born into it, or they're like me, like I said, conned into it. But, this is one of those industries that once it's in your blood, man, it's in it, like you
Absolutely.
got a little taste and then you went and tried law and you're like, yeah, that don't taste good. And, it's hard. Look, selling cars, being in the business, it tastes good. It's fun. I always find that, from like a personality perspective, we're all a little bit kind of chaos junkies. Like we kind of like the high of kind of everything going on simultaneously. And, we really love, having high expectations from the customers and meeting those expectations and getting the deal and the transaction done is just, it feels good. It's like a really good glass of brandy. Like it just feels
Absolutely.
right? Look, I know we had a chance before we hit the record button to talk about a few things, and you brought up a topic which I think is just so insanely relevant for what's going on right now. I mean, look, we're in the fourth quarter of our year, which is typically not a fun time to be in anyway, especially being up here in Toronto. That white stuff starts to come down. The sun goes away. We don't get enough vitamin D, and people always kind of feel a little edgy. Then we tack on a pandemic, and man, it just makes times really, really interesting. But, we were talking about this earlier, but times like this is when you see real leaders within your business, right? That cream kind of rises to the top. So I love to kind of get your take on what does it mean to be a leader, during uncertain times that we're in right now.
I think the number one mistake when it comes to leadership that people don't understand is that, nobody works for you. You work for other people, right? So you're here to tell people, hey, listen, how can I make your job easier? How can I make your life easier? As a true leader, you have to serve others. So for me, that's the most important thing, that you don't work for me, I work for you. And whatever I can do to help you out, whatever I can do to make your personal experience better with me at work, and we're here a lot of hours every day, even more hours than we're at home. So to me, that's the most important thing about leadership, leading by example. That's a really big one, because then you fall into the category of being a hypocrite. So, if you're a sales manager, for example, and, you want your team to, go out there and clean cars, you gotta put your snow jacket on and you gotta start doing it. And they're gonna be like, wow, this guy's cleaning the cars. So we're going to follow in his footsteps. So leading by example is also a very important one. And,
I
those
feel
are the
I,
two
I
main
feel
things.
with leadership, it's one thing to lead task, you know what I mean? But it's an entirely different thing to lead someone's efforts, and it takes a different type of leader to do that. And to your point, I mean, you nailed it right on the head. You can only do that through willing to do it yourself, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I think back and in some of my role models and some of the best leaders I had, and they would never ask me to do something that they weren't willing to get up and go do themselves. And through that, I was able to have respect for them, and the respect didn't come from fear. Do you know what I mean by that? Like,
Yeah.
you ever had a manager that you worked with that leaded with fear versus leading by respect? Have you ever had that before?
Oh yeah. I had that for sure. And, it's, you put yourself in a totally different category when you lead by, by gaining someone's respect versus, you yelling at them and, trying to, overpower them. Uh, so I've worked with both, and I can definitely say that the better way to go is to, to have people's respect. That's definitely the better way. And I've personally never been the kind of person that ever wants to lead by fear or use my authority over someone. I want to, that doesn't exist for me. And if you do that, you're not a leader.
That's well said. I'm coaching some new managers right now, and I had one, finally tell me the truth, and the truth of his of kind of his concerns or his stress right now is that the staff doesn't respect him. And my emotional intelligence is not always so high. I come from the old school of car business, which is suck it up, buttercup, and kind of move on. So I had to chew on that for a minute when he said that, because originally my gut reaction was, well, you haven't freaking earned it, and but I find that to be true. See, I think great leaders, all right, earn that respect, but they earn that respect from being humble, right? Understanding the willingness to actually learn from anybody and everybody out there, no matter their experience or age or anything. There's something that can be learned from every single person out there. So I'm curious for yourself, how do you humble yourself so that you can learn from others?
So, I mean, for me, to start off, number one, I come from very humble beginnings.
Hmm.
I was brought up in a single family household. My mom raised me and my two siblings herself. So,
That's amazing.
when you come from down there, and whatever level of success you get to, you never forget where you came from. So personally, that's one thing that always helps me stay humble. The other thing is, I'm a little bit of a man of a faith, and I believe that,
For sure.
look, at the end of the day, this is coming from God.
Hmm.
It's a blessing. Having good health, having money coming in, it's a blessing from God. And, whether you're religious or not, understanding that, there's forces of the universe at play that are putting
Yep.
you in a better position, or, there's a little bit of luck involved as well. The harder you work, the luckier you get. We all know that saying. I definitely think it's true, but I don't. I always understand. It's not all me, right? It's I had great mentors when I was being brought up.
Hmm.
I had my mom. She raised me the best that she possibly could. So you know people, they their ego is kind of at play when they're like, it's me, I did it, I'm self-made, I did all this myself. If you have that mentality, then it's very hard to remain humble.
Ain't that the truth? And you know what? Shout out to the mothers out there, because when we do think of leaders, and shout out to your mom for being such an amazing leader. Because no, it's true. I mean, look, I've some of my biggest lessons on how to be an efficient leader has come from my mother, and one of the ones that I'm seeing right now is, it didn't matter what fire was going on at home. It didn't matter, look, the kitchen could literally be ignited. All right, the house could be burning down, and somehow my mother would be able to hold composure, like, it's all good, we're still here, and I think about that, and I think about some of the best managers I've ever worked for or worked for me, and they that same kind of thing, right? And I see that how important that is right now during this pandemic. Look, customer confidence is not high. Staff confidence is not high. All right. Everybody's freaking stressed out. We're literally going day by day by day based on what the hell the government's telling us. We can't operate. We can't operate. I mean, I think if you talk to most of your staff, do you think you'll have a job after, at the end of December? I don't know if anybody would say that they will. I mean, they may be laid off again, right? So there's so
Yeah.
much stress. But as a leader, we have to come in and be able to kind of part those seas and just, be able to maintain that level of like, this is stressful, all right, but we're going to handle it. How do you see leaders? And I know like my mom did it incredibly well. I'm sure your mom probably did it incredibly well too. It's not something that came natural for me. So it's something that I kind
Mhm.
of had to teach myself, of how to, not only become myself, but also be able to become for others. And right now, I don't. That's a tough place to be. So I'm curious how you do that for yourself.
Of being a leader, the energy you give out to people, it's contagious, right? So if you're the kind of person where you're negative, um, you know, when I first joined this industry, one of my uncles, longtime veteran in this industry, I said, give me some advice,
Hmm.
hoping he would tell me like some secret where I can sell like 100 cars a month or something. I didn't get that secret. All he told me was, he said, every day when you get into work, leave it on the curb.
Hmm.
And I'm like, okay, what's so special about that? And as time went on, and as I got older and older, and as I, grew up in this industry, I learned that no matter what's going on in your life, no matter, what's going on at home, when you come to work, you have to leave it all outside, and you have to come in with a clear head every day. You have to come in with positive energy, and then you're going to create that kind of environment for yourself. Other people will see you. Other people, on the topic of leading by example, it's very important to do that in a situation, especially when you have a lot going on in your life. And if you ask anybody who's ever worked with me in the past, they would attest to that, because I've been through some very dark times, some very difficult times. Being 18, 19 years old in this business, trying to help my mom pay the bills. She's getting older, and then there's a responsibility on your head where you have to obviously provide a certain amount every month. You're working on 100% commission. My brother, when I was 20 years old, he had open heart surgery. My mom couldn't work. She was going to the hospital every day,
Yeah.
to stay with him, to give him company. And, when I was 20 years old, all of a sudden the responsibility of, running the household fell on my shoulders.
Hmm.
And for me, I didn't think of it as a negative. I thought of it as a positive, that, okay, you know what? This is a test. And, you never get put through a situation that you can't handle. And all it does is it makes you a better person. It makes you a better professional. It makes you a better leader. So all those times, all those difficult times, all those dark times, I never let it get to my head. And every day when I came into work, I left it all on the curve.
No, you know what? I can appreciate the idea of leaving it on the curve, right? Curb, and I can be honest with you, for the longest time, I was in that same place, but what I'm beginning to find, right now is that works for some people, and probably for me and you, it does, right? Like we can compartmentalize, things, and so we can set that box onto the curb, and then we can walk through the door, and we can pick up that box when we get out. It's through, I guess, time, being self-aware and developing myself. I realized that's not the case for everybody. So I've actually found that for some staff, and for some of the people, I actually just have to let them feel the way they feel and understand that that's their perception, not my perception. So I can't necessarily own that, but I'm with you. I think, as we grow and develop as leaders, we start to identify these things, and I don't think there's no wrong or right answer here, but we do start to identify them. You hinted on something, when you became more responsible, for managing the house, man, and kudos to you. But, you really had to not only own the home, but you also had to really own your own business. That's always been this industry. I gotta be honest with you. There's one part of the industry that I've always kind of struggled with a little bit, right? Is this 100% commission. You are a business owner, be the business within the business. There's like one side of me that's like, yes, that's the way it should be done. And there's the other side of me going, Yeah, no, like that's, I mean, there's not a lot of people can always operate that at that level of stress. So, I'd love to kind of get your thoughts on, and I don't think there's any wrong or right answer here, but I just kind of get your thoughts on it of, how do people today, manage that business within a business, and how are you currently doing it right now?
I think it starts with number one, you have to do more than your job title entails,
Good
right?
point.
If you're a finance manager, if you're a salesperson, if you're a sales manager, you have to go above and beyond your role. It all starts with that. It starts with taking initiative. When you take initiative, when you start doing more than you're expected and you're paid to do, people start to develop a dependency to you because you're
Mhm.
making their life easier, you're making their job easier, and at the same time what you're doing is when you're kind of doing the salesperson's job, when you're kind of doing the finance manager's job, when you're also doing the sales manager's job, which I try to do, I try to create a seamless process for my clients where from start to finish I'm the primary person they're dealing with. And if you give them a good experience, then you're creating a long-term business for yourself because they're going to be the person, you're going to be the person they remember.
Mhm.
If they know anyone looking for a vehicle, one thing I take pride in doing is I help people in even the most difficult credit situations. Um, Everybody says that, but you know, no matter what the situation is, I would say 98% of the time I find a way to get it done. Um, and I advertise that, I market that. So if you do more than just your job title entails, you're going to create a long-term flow of business and clients, and people will develop a dependency on you, and they're going to need you, and your stock is going to go up.
Oh, absolutely. It says a lot, I mean, about every business operator's kind of how they approach it. Now, I know F&I is kind of where the position that you're sitting in right now. And I got to be honest with you, out of all the roles in a dealership, the one that I probably have had the biggest issues with, outside of a used car manager, is, is kind of the F&I, right? Like, I mean, look, F&I started, let's say, for the last 30 years, right? 20 to 30, right? And it really hasn't been redefined since then. And it's a sore subject for me because I've yet to find a large percentage of the population that actually enjoys, you know, doing it. I mean, look, plus as an industry, we kind of screwed it all up, right? The first thing first, we called it a box. Like what a like seriously, right? Think about it. Like what a horrible, horrible, horrible term to use, right?
Yeah, absolutely,
In fact, I
absolutely.
heard a salesperson use that with a customer the other day. Now, of course, it was probably by accident and they didn't mean to, but they're like, okay, great. All right, we're gonna finish this up, and then you're gonna talk to John. He's over in the box. It's like, holy crap, that he's John's in a box? John needs to get out of the box. Like, what do I got to go sit with John in a box? But it is that it's kind of that whole mentality that we kind of lock people into this space, and then we try to resell. It's not fun, and I think it needs to be redefined. I got all kinds of thoughts and opinions on it, but I'd actually like to get yours because you're executing it right now. I haven't done F&I in a long time. How do you think the F&I experience needs to get redefined for customers?
I think number one, the most important thing is that as a finance manager, you have to have the mindset that you're not a salesperson,
Mm,
you're a consultant, right? So at the end of the day, you're not here to sell them something, right? You're here to help them. And if you have that mentality, number one, you're going to conduct your business more ethically, and number two, again, your whole mentality is going to shift, and you're genuinely going to believe, and obviously you should and you do, that you're helping this person out and you're helping them solve a problem. So for example, if I have a client that comes and he lives 100 kilometers away from where he works,
mhm.
and I recommend him an extended warranty, then at the end of the day, I'm helping him out because at the end, he's not going to get that whole 5 years the manufacturer offers. He's going to hit that 100,000 kilometer point first, and he's going to get to a zone where he's financing the car still, and he's paying for repairs. So genuinely, I'm thinking long term that what's going to benefit my client the most, and given the situation, the interview you have with them, the information you collect for them, it's your job as a consultant to make to form that opinion and obviously share with the client. So I think it all starts, Jason, finance managers, they have to conduct their business more ethically, and they have to realize that, if I don't make all this money in one shot off this one guy, and I make a little bit of money off him, maybe he's going to send me 10 more people, and that equates to 20 times more than I would have got in the first place. So having that mentality is also very important, that, you're not here short term. This is your career, and you have to
No,
plant good seeds for yourself.
I'm with you 100%. I mean, you really do have to be a consultant, then you do have to be, selling products and services, right? Like, and I agree with you. And in fact, actually, some of the best F&I managers I've ever met are consultants. I think one of the biggest concerns I have is the way that we've structured it, right? It's like we take this customer on this emotional roller coaster of, coming out, doing the test drive and woohoo, this is fun. And then coming back and, I'll present you a four square. I mean, how horrible is a four square, right? Like, I swear, if I see another one of those, I'll lose my bloody mind. Actually, I had a dealership the other day. I heard a salesperson call it a worksheet. Whoa, it just made me feel the other way. But what I feel is like, as an industry, a lot of dealerships do not set up their F&I manager for success because they treat the F&I department as the last kick of the can. A final swing at the bat to try to get as much money as we can. So, from a structure perspective, from a sales sales path structure, how would you change the way that F&I kind of gets introduced to the customer?
So, personally, me, for my sales staff, whenever I have them introduced to me, where the client is brought to me as a turnover, first of all, I never tell them to say, hey, that this is the guy that's going to be going over and start naming the products of what I'm going to go over with them. Right? I'm here to help people set up their financing, and I'm here to help you set up your loan in the way that's going to provide you with the best value and the lowest rates. And that's all I like to say when it comes to my sales staff when they're introducing me. My office space, I like to keep it very clean. I don't like to keep any brochures anywhere. I don't keep any literature. I don't, advertise what I'm doing. I like to just make it a welcoming space where people can just come in. They feel relaxed. They're not looking at, a huge picture of a warranty or a big module on your desk of, for corrosion protection. It has to be a relaxed environment when they come in here. And again, that starts with you being a consultant versus you being a salesperson. So they want to, at the end of the day, introduce you as someone who's a consultant, not as someone who's a salesperson.
No, for sure. I love the fact that you use the word turnover because, like I know I get a stickler. So I'm a bit of a stickler sometimes on language, and it drives people nuts, but, kind of also kind of not necessarily a positive word. Like let me turn over this customer, to another person, right? It's like, well, wait a second, whoa, hold on. I just signed it on the dotted line to give you $45,000 of my money, and wait, I don't get to finish this transaction with you. I need to be turned over to somebody else. It just feels monstrously disconnected. So I like to get your thoughts on a model that I'm seeing become more and more popular. And I think a lot of it has to do because of the pandemic is we're becoming more finance first in a lot of our efforts, right? I just read a study, that 66% of customers that are buying a car would be willing to fill out, a finance application before, coming into the dealership. But as a dealership, we seem to like save or hold on to this until the end, which is actually, I gotta be honest, it's more of a Canadian thing than it is a US thing. I remember when I first moved up here, I was helping out a dealership. They were busy on a weekend, so I said, hey, I'll jump in. I'll help out. I had a customer come in. They were interested in a Lincoln Navigator. It's an amazing vehicle. Awesome choice. We're going to have a lot of fun today test driving this car. So let's get the dirty work out of the way. Let's get this credit application filled out first so my team can start processing it, and let's go out and have some fun. So I did exactly what I've just always done. I had them fill out a credit application. I brought it to the manager, all excited. And I said, hey, I'm going to take this guy out. And he was like, well, what am I supposed to do with this? I'm handing him the finance manager, or I'm handing him the credit application before the test drive. And I'm like, well, I don't know. Do you know them? I don't know them. I don't know if they can finance a hot dog, for crying out loud. And they want to go test drive an $85,000 SUV. So run it and tell me they qualify. And he just looked at me, just cross-eyed. We don't do it that way here. And I'm like, what? Are you kidding me? Like,
Could you like
we
truthfully
saved
repeat like
one of the biggest conversations, the biggest part of, of buying a vehicle to the very end. It drives me nuts. Anyways, I want to get your thoughts. What would you think of more of a finance first approach, to F&I?
Well, I've definitely noticed an increase since the start of the pandemic of credit applications coming in. People that want to get the finance application done first, and that puts us in a very good position because if they're already giving you that information beforehand, there's a very very high chance that you're going to convert that into a sale versus them coming in looking at the Toyota, the Honda, the Mazda,
Yeah,
and
doesn't that take the
making a
pressure off of
decision from there.
everybody? Yeah, it takes the pressure off of everybody, right? It takes pressure off you, it
Yeah,
takes pressure off the customer, and then you guys can get straight to just connecting at a relationship level, don't you think?
absolutely, absolutely.
Now, look, I don't know necessarily how we're gonna drive that home, but I think you know what the funny thing is. Here's the kicker: if the dealerships don't make those changes, guess what? The manufacturer is going to make that change for them. Hyundai's doing it. BMW, Mercedes have already done it. Where they'll come in and say, you know what, we don't particularly like your sales process. We get too many surveys telling us the customer does not like this control of you must follow my process and I have 12 steps and you can't buy a car unless you execute all 12, right? So it's like if dealerships don't start making these changes right now and listening to what the customer wants, the manufacturer will do it for them. What is your thoughts about the manufacturer coming in and saying, "Hey, you're not going to change. We'll make the changes for you."
I think as a leader and as a person in a management role in a dealership, it's your responsibility to actually have the model that everyone else wants to follow or is going to follow, including the manufacturer. I've seen some dealerships run their process in a way where the manufacturer they look at them and they say, "Wow, these guys are doing an incredible job. Let's implement this at all of our other stores as well." So I
Hmm.
think we should strive to be in a position where the manufacturer is actually learning from us, because at the end of the day, we're the ones working here. We're the ones that are dealing with the clients. We're the ones that are face to face every day. So we would have the best opinion when it comes to this, not the manufacturer. So I think the other way around, we should all be in a position where we're helping the manufacturer. They're not even helping us.
Well, look, I wish that is the case, and and I think there are some dealers out there that can be that way, But I think I've gotten to the point now where I think I understand the manufacturer's frustration. Like the customer is demanding a new sales process, and as an industry, we've just there are some people that have done amazing jobs of listening to the customer and have changed this. So I'm not trying to say the whole industry, but there's a good chunk of the industry that said no. We're going to stick to our 12-step process, and if they don't like it, then they can bugger off, And this is where, and I actually give the manufacturers a hard time on a lot of things, but this is one place I actually think like, no, this is great. I know Hyundai just launched their at-home test drive, right? So, look, they identified that this is what the customer wants. The customer wants the ability to test drive a vehicle from home or work. Not maybe a large percentage, but a certain percentage definitely wants to do that. Look, if the dealerships aren't willing to develop that process or execute that process themselves, well, we'll do it on their behalf. And it's like they came down with a mandate, like you dealerships now have to participate in this program. All right, someone can come to our website, schedule an at-home test drive, and you will have to execute it. Here's the process. Do you feel like a manufacturer is overstepping their bounds when they do something like that?
No, I think definitely they are definitely helping us too. I mean, for sure, they're offering a totally different opinion with a fresh set of eyes. And maybe they see things the way that we're not used to seeing things because we're in a position where we're working at a dealership where we're here every day. So it's great to have, but it should be where them and us are working together, not where they're making all the rules and we're following it. Obviously that's great for them, but for us, that doesn't put us in a position. We have to share our input. We have to tell them maybe they do something that might not work. For example, one thing that our dealership did recently, we're part of the Bhatia group.
Hmm.
We bought a trailer in which we can deliver vehicles to clients' houses.
I love it. It's
So
awesome.
instead of them coming into the dealership to sign, we would send the representative to their home, put the vehicle inside of a, like a trailer, ship the car right to their driveway. And I know my owner was sharing with me that Hyundai really loved the idea, and they actually wanted to implement that and across all of their stores. So that's a good example of both parties working together.
But and you're right. Both parties should be working together like that and trying to develop out a better experience. I had my Armada, my Nissan Armada, got delivered to me on a trailer, and I'll tell you, it was great. It was great. It was great to be able to finalize that paperwork in the comfort of my own home. Dude, I was in my PJs. It was Saturday or Sunday morning. I can't remember when the truck came, and the guy was texting me, telling me how far out they are. That the kids are asking me, how far is it? Is it here yet? Is it here yet? I mean, look, it was an amazing experience, and that is the story that I share when people ask me, about my vehicle. Was this last moment? I actually got to admit to you, the steps up to it were not so great, but then they were able to really bring it home. With this just very cool delivery process. I didn't have to get out of my PJs. My kids they rolled up in this big truck, which my kids thought were really cool in the first place. They're all bouncing up. No, it's here, it's here, it's here. And it comes off the flatbed. And it was so cool. It was so cool the way they did it. So, but I agree with you. I think as dealerships and manufacturers, we got to work together to create that better customer experience, but we got to listen to the customer more.
Absolutely.
We got to listen to them more. Now, to listen to them more and to be willing to change, it's a mindset, no? I mean, we really have to be, if we're changing because we're forced to change, oh God, that never turns out the right way, right? But it's just that we have to get into that mindset. And I know you got some really interesting perspective on how to get into that mindset and stay consistent in it. So I'd love to kind of hear your thoughts on that.
My business model is it's a Japanese philosophy. I've been following it for a very long time. It's called Kaizen.
Mm-hmm.
So Kaizen is basically, it's the concept of continuous self-improvement.
I love
and in a role when you're 100% commission based, when your paycheck is solely based off of your efforts, it is so important that you have to consistently be getting better. I know Pat Riley has a quote. I really loved it. It's, if you're not getting better, you're getting worse. And that's exactly what it is. You have to, it's your responsibility. And also, if you want to be a leader, it's your responsibility, even to those around you, to read books, to self-educate yourself, to attend seminars, to, learn a little bit from whoever you can, and always having an open mind and realizing that I don't know everything, and there's something I can learn from everyone. Maybe he does, emails better than me. Maybe he does phone calls better than me. Always learning from everybody, and taking the initiative to learn yourself and get better every day, and tracking that as well. Holding yourself accountable and saying, okay, you know what, I did a little better this month than I did last month. Now next month has to be better than that, and next month has to be better than that. And even if you fall a little bit short one month, you're going to notice the graph is going to go, it's going to go up, then it's going to go down, then it's going to go up. But overall, it's headed in a way where it's going up, slowly but surely.
You know what I find is it all comes down to routine. I've look, been to a lot of conferences, spoken at a lot of conferences, and I love conferences because I love seeing people's mindsets when they come into the conference. And you can almost see it when you talk to them. You can see it on their body language, the whole thing. And then as the conference progresses, you can see the mindset change, and it's just like, oh, they're jacked, they're excited, they're ready to get back to their dealership, kick ass and take names, right? But then you follow up with some of these people, and a couple weeks later, it's gone. It's faded away. That light has just gone from their eyes again, and they're back to whatever they were doing before. So I find to maintain that mindset requires a routine. And I imagine that you have one, because everybody I've talked to usually has a pretty solid one when they to stay in that mindset. What is your routine? I'm very curious.
Jason, I remember this was, I think, around a year and a half ago. I actually hired a sales coach.
Mm-hmm.
I was in a position where I was doing pretty well, in comparison to those around me. But again, I'm not competing with them. I'm competing with myself. So I said, okay, let me hire a sales coach and see how this goes. And I was surprised to learn that the number one thing that we went over mindset.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I thought we were going to get into, sales tactics and word tracks and stuff like that. But it was the mindset. And that's when I realized how important it is to have a routine. My routine always starts off, number one, with a little bit of exercise every morning before I get to work. Get your blood flowing, open up your mind. I have a routine of gratefulness every single day where I just I'm grateful for everything around me, and I become grateful for even the smallest things in my life. So that's always my mindset as well, and that's part of my routine every day when I wake up. Um, I always have to stop at the Starbucks line before I come to work. That's definitely part of my routine. And I have something called a walk-in song. A walk-in song meaning I have this one song that I like to play every day that just that gets me into the zone.
I love it.
It's like the trigger in my brain that, okay, you're about to go into work now. Let's get into the right mindset.
So you
That
know
tied
you
in
know
with
I'm
all
gonna
the
have
other
to
things.
ask. Like what I gotta ask. I gotta stop you there. I gotta know what song it is. What song?
I'm
What was your walk-in song, man? I gotta know.
I'm a huge Drake fan, so for me,
Nice.
it's a song. It's called "Views" by Drake. If
Hey,
you
that's
if
a
you
good
hear
one.
it, there's a very nice build up to it, and then
That's a
all of
great
a
beat.
sudden the beat just drops, and it's going crazy, and that's what I like.
Yeah, you know what? I think mine would be High Hopes. You remember? This.
I like that.
He's got high hopes. He's got like that's. I mine would be something super tacky, probably like that. But no, you're right though. I look. Everyone's got to hack it. They got to find their own thing. I think actually music is a great way to kind of just
Yeah,
get yourself into it. I like using podcasts. Podcast is a big one for me. So, when I'm in the car on my way in, it is I'm kind of hacking it, right? Because it's like I'm learning, I'm growing, but then I'm also kind of getting my mind into that place again. So I love audiobooks. I got to be honest, I'm not a reader. I get a lot of people, because of the podcast, they'll send me their books like, "Hey, you gotta check out my new book," and I'm like, thanks. I won't read it. Is there an audio version? But like I love consuming audio, so audio is a big thing for you. But I agree with you. I mean, routine is everything.
yeah.
I went on a big kind of self-awareness trip, I think, in the last few years, probably the last 3 years, and it was really trying to understand myself and why I feel the way I feel and what, factors or outside sources can affect the way I feel, and then digesting that and understanding that so that I can either embrace, and develop and move on quicker, or if it was a feeling that needed to be held on. I think too often in our business, we feel something and then we dismiss it so quickly. But there are emotions that you do need to kind of hold on to. And for me to kind of get to that place of self-awareness, I had to go through a routine. And luckily it's been a routine that I've kind of consistently stayed. I wake up around 4:35 or between 4:35 in the morning. And I have, that 2 hours where everyone's sleeping. Just, by the way, it's an eerie time to be up, just knowing that everyone else is kind of sleeping, right? I was talking to Glenn Lundy today, and he's like, "Yeah, I wake up around 3:20 in the morning." I was like, "Okay, well, I'm not there quite yet," but but having that time to yourself, so that you can do just you, and then kind of dive into the rest of the day is big stuff. Look, I know we're getting towards the end of our time, and we could easily probably jam for probably a full solid hour just
Absolutely,
just on mindset and
absolutely.
routines. But it does all kind of come down to consistency, isn't it? I mean, look, a mindset is a lot like shaving off those 20 pounds. You don't go to the gym for a month. It's the
Yeah,
consistency, and you got to get real about it. I mean, for me, I had to program it into my phone, so that I had something holding me accountable. I imagine, your coach, your sales coach, was a great accountability person to ensure that you were, holding on to that mindset and maintaining
yeah.
it. But Amon, before I let you go, though, for everyone that's been watching and listening, and just kind of love hearing about you and learning about you, and would love to kind of connect with you and follow along with your journey, what's the best way to do so?
You can email me. My first name is spelled AMMUN.K@hotmail.ca. Add me on LinkedIn. Ammun Khurshid. Um, I'm really passionate about being in a position where I wanna help other people. Long term, my future goals. I definitely want to be a sales coach as well one day, and I want to
Very cool.
be in a position where I can also help people. So if you need help with anything, whether it's work related or non-work related, please reach out to me. If you want to share your story with me, if you agreed on the stuff that I talked about today, and you want to have a healthy conversation or even a healthy debate, I would love to. So yeah, please connect with me. But LinkedIn and email, definitely the best way.
That's awesome. Hey, Mon, I really appreciate you just being so open, so willing to connect with others. I truly admire that. I'm the same. We connected, and it was just you reached out. I was like, yeah, absolutely. Let's do this. Make it simple, right?
Absolutely.
Mon, thank you again for taking the time to jam with me today. You have yourself an amazing day. All right.
It was my pleasure, Jason. Thank you so much.
Thanks for tuning in to the Strategy Mob podcast with your host, Jason Harris. Don't want to miss new content? Be sure to sign up to be a mobster at strategymob.com to stay in the know. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe.